We'll talk about it later. You see what happens when you raise two little boys?
Well, now, I had a girl and she was pretty well self-contained. She'd grab a book and that was the
Yeah,
end of it, you know?
no, that don't happen with two little
No,
boys. No, not with two of them. Now maybe with one,
mm-hmm.
but not with two of them. With two of them is.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, I think we're live. I hope so.
I know we're live on YouTube. I can see her.
Okay, we are live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me get over there. Keeps telling me the videos not available. I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, okay. I know what it is. I'm logged in as my husband right now. That's the problem. Everybody, just give me one quick second to get logged in correctly, and we will make it do what it do. Here we go. All right. Everybody, just all right. Welcome to the Black Poet Laureates first Sunday. I was about to introduce you to my podcast. I tell you, it's just one of those days, where your mind is moving a little slower than it's supposed to be. Anyways, welcome to Black Poet Laureates first Sunday. I am Raya Carmen, and I am joined with my partner in crime for today, Mr. Terry E. Carter. Everybody make some noise, clap, snap, and all that in your living rooms for Terry E. Carter, because he is Poet Laureate Emeritus of, oh, I always forget what city it is. Tell
Oh,
me.
it's all right. It's a little bee sting on the butt of Boston called Medford, Massachusetts.
Medford, Massachusetts. Okay, so you were close to Boston.
Yes. Yeah, about 7 miles north.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my family and I want to come to Boston. Um, we want to do some whale watching, Cape Cod.
Boston's a Boston is a really, really good visiting city. I have to give them their props on amenities, places of interest, museums, and then things like you just said, like, whale watchers, um, you know, clam bakes, the
Oh
Cape
wow.
Cod thing, seasonally, it's got a lot of different things going on. If you don't mind driving, 25 miles in any direction, there's all kinds of hijinks that you can get into.
Cool, cool. Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna get up there probably for spring break or something like that.
Nice.
Um, my sons have decided they want to see real live whales.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we got a whale watch to do it.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
excited.
it happens. It definitely happens. I've been on several, and they come and they show out the right whales in the humpbacks. Um, Probably gray whales as well. So there's a couple of different varieties that
Yeah, yeah.
cavort offshore. So
Oh man, I can't wait. See, now I'm excited. I'm super excited. Because now when I come, you can like show me around,
no doubt,
and maybe I could do a gig up that high
absolutely.
and that far north to do some poems. So that'd be nice.
Well, with enough notice, we can try and put something together.
Oh yes.
Right? Get some black law. Get a. There's a couple of black laureates up in this vicinity. There's
Okay.
there's a sister in New Hampshire, and then there's a sister in Maine. Both
Hmm.
of which are doing things. I've been trying to hook up with them. We haven't been able to do anything yet, but you know, they're hanging out. They're doing
Yeah,
stuff.
we can do some things. That would be dope.
Yeah.
So now that you are done, is there a new poet laureate of Medford?
There is, as a matter of fact. Her name is Vijaya Sundaram. She's an Indian woman. She's a English professor at one of the local community colleges. We're friends. We've done some stuff together. And I'm really very happy that she was the first one to kind of get a shot after my term was over, because she was in the running the first time when I was
Right.
made the inaugural, and she's very worthy. She's very worthy. She's a good poet. Yeah, she's
So
she's she's solid.
I'm
She's
so
solid.
glad. So,
Mhm.
so as poet laureate,
Mhm.
what were like your duties? What were you required? I know we go above and beyond, but
Yeah,
what were you required to do?
yeah. I mean, since I was the inaugural, they really didn't have a blueprint, so to
Ah,
speak.
okay, okay.
They were in. It was the city of Medford in cahoots with the local arts council.
Hmm.
Massachusetts has a state council, and then all the cities and towns that desire to create their own local council, and it gets tied into the big council for grants and such so forth. Um, but they really, what they did is, a neighboring city, a place called Somerville. Um, I actually directed them to take a look at Somerville's blueprint,
Okay.
because I was familiar with what Somerville was doing, and was kind of prodding them to kind of go on and get this thing going. And
Mm-hmm.
some may say that's a little bit self-serving, because I certainly wanted to be in the running for whatever selection they made. But mostly it was just because the city is sizable enough, it has enough cultural resources, it has
Mm-hmm.
enough going on artistically, where it made sense to me
Yeah,
for
yeah,
them
yeah.
to have it. So the things that they decided that they would want me to do is create poetry for special occasions.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote for Pride Month. I wrote for a couple inaugurations. I wrote for Memorial Day. I think I wrote for Martin Luther King. I wrote for
Mm-hmm.
um, Black History Month, different places in the city, some that the city itself wasn't tied to, but was familiar with programs, and kind of wanted to make sure that they had my participation. So a lot of stuff like
Okay.
that. I went into the schools a couple of times. Um, and so I did some workshopping, and but most of the events that I did, I kind of created out of my own connections and my own kind of head and heart space. So there's more of a blueprint now,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that there's been that whatever the committee was that kind of was involved in the selection process has actually sat down and said, soup to nuts, this is what we want the PL to do.
Got you. Okay, okay. So now what does it look like for you now? So, are you still doing programming or
Yeah, yeah.
you just like,
I've got couple things. One, my book 6 is at the publisher right now.
all right,
I
book
just
six, let's go.
yeah, yeah, I just got finished correcting the galleys. And it's been 2 rounds of correction,
Of
so
course.
I'm done now. I'm done. I mean, if there's
Good.
an I that's not dotted or a T that's not crossed, so
I'm
be it.
done. I'm
I'm a
done.
poet. We
It's
can get
just gonna
away
be
with
what it
stuff.
is.
You
Yes.
know, you
Yes.
know.
I know.
We can get away with there not being a comma at the end of this line. That's poetic license. Shut it
We're
up.
just gonna let it ride. We're gonna let it do what it do. I
Yeah.
understand.
So I'm
Yeah.
anxious and anticipating that. I'm hoping that I have it that'll hit the bricks, by the end of this month.
Okay.
I'm hopeful, but it'll do what it does. And so that's the big thing. And then I had just got finished doing some workshop, and I'm getting ready to do a workshop for my wife is a pastor and a liturgical dance minister, and she belongs to a regional collective, and they're doing a big ministry event, and so I'm going to do some special poetry there, and then I'll do some workshopping for the ladies as well. So
Awesome.
I'm trying to keep busy. I'm trying to keep busy,
Yeah,
and if somebody dangles a carrot, I'm all about it.
Half carrot will travel.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it. Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Well, I know for me, I am trying to stay busy,
Mm-hmm.
still, doing poetry,
Yes.
really kind of launching out as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my very first one woman show
I love that. Yes.
at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm nervous and all of that
Mm-hmm.
because I've never done this before. It's a lot of
Yeah.
writing. I've done full length shows, but it was, I just had to do pieces of it. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
directed the show, but as for like the poetry, I only had to do, five pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as opposed to
Yeah.
having to do 20 pieces. So,
I love this. I love you in that role. I mean, I love you in that space because I think one, obviously the poetry will do everything it needs to do. But I think just in terms of, kind of the way that you relate with people and the way that folks, kind of gravitate to you as a, kind of a poetry leader. I think you're gonna break it up.
thank you, thank you,
Break it
thank you.
up.
Yeah, so there's that, and then just trying to figure out, the world of financing for
Mhm.
poets.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that there's that money in the school space, just tapping into that, tapping
Mhm.
into being able to do programming more often
Yeah.
with young people because I love young people
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just finished a summer program with three amazing young people. And the books that they are putting out is just like, oh my gosh, oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah.
I want everybody in the world to read them. So, young people are so inspirational. I love
Yeah.
it. And
There's a lot of crazy talent out there.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
just
And so just kind of
outrageous.
tapping into that is what I
Yeah.
I, I want to, be. I'm a mama, so I
Hmm.
tend to be mama to
Yeah.
everybody. So
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love
And
that.
that's really what I mean when I say that, folks, they're gonna gravitate, they're gonna want to hear what you have to say. And I think just in terms of, kind of personality and dramatic chops, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think you're going to be able to put it out there in a way that really engages folks. So,
I
yeah.
certainly hope
I
so.
mean, I look forward to it. I hope this video and all of that stuff, so we who are out here in all these far-flung destinations can get a little taste,
Well, I need to post a video. We did a show last Saturday. My
Hmm.
son was my drummer,
Oh,
and
nice.
for the first time ever, I got to just perform with my baby, and so that was, crazy.
Yeah.
And so I want to post a video of it to
Mhm.
our little group so everybody can see
Oh, that's
rock with your
great.
kids.
As a
So,
matter of fact, and I didn't mention this when you kind of asked me what I had going on is at the same time that I got the book in the pipeline. I've been grooving with this jazz trio,
oh
and
yeah,
we've got a CD in the pipeline. So
okay.
yeah, yeah. And it's crazy because you know the beautiful people. They're white guys,
Yeah.
So they probably would have been the last folks that I would have thought would have seen what I do and said, "Oh,
Yo, let's put some
oh,
music
oh,
behind
oh,
that.
no, no, no. We gotta get with that brother and do. We gotta see if he'll even, if he'll
Yeah,
let us be the one." So they've been really, really cool. It's a drummer and a bassist and a pianist who is marvelous. Um,
wow, I can't wait to
and
hear it.
we got a thing we call it the Ally Project.
I like that.
Yeah, so
Like,
and it's I call it the intersection of jazz and social justice.
I love it.
Yeah, so
I love it.
that's kind of where
Yes.
we meet up, and so a lot of the music and poetry is framed in that the social justice space, and then
Yeah.
what isn't is like family and community, and then just jazz. It's just just
Just the
speaking to
good
the
stuff.
jazz of the thing. So it's pretty fly, I will admit.
Good, good.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
it's
it.
it's gonna be nice. So that's that's kind of those two places are kind of where where my heart is it's the writing. It's, you know, kind of this blending of, you know, of different musical styles and poetic styles. So I'm about that. So when you tell me that your drummer, your son was drumming for you, man, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, man. I think I have a bit of a think about like Tina Turner kind of raspy rock and roll type voice.
Oh snap,
And
yeah.
so we got to rock out. We got to rock out, and it
Yeah.
was just a ton of fun with that.
Oh, good. I can just imagine what that was like. That must have been so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so many people, because I haven't performed like singing
Uh-huh.
with a band for 20 years. No, it's been about 12 years. I'm exaggerating.
Uh-huh.
But since my youngest son was born. And so they haven't heard me sing. Like the new people who follow me and like saw me as poet laureate, they didn't know I could sing. And
Uh-huh.
so when they saw it, they were just like, "What is
Yeah.
this?" Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Then, you know, then you get into, man, it's unfair that God put so much talent in one place, you know? Couldn't he have spread it around a little bit more?
Ah, I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it. I love being able, I love music, and
Yeah.
that intersection of music and poetry is just so
It's
powerful.
very powerful. It is.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
what that makes it do what it do. And so all of that said, your poetry, it has a jazz feel even when there's no music. So
Yeah.
can we hear some poems?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go exclusively out of, you know, kind of the new stuff,
Okay.
because that's kind of it's kind of fresh in my mind. So I'm gonna read this piece. Now, we're a public transportation city,
Hmm.
and for a little while when I was growing up, we were pretty good at it. But we stink at it right now. We're going through some serious problems because the system is old and it's breaking down and it's taking a, you know, a lot of money and resources. So people in Boston are mad right now
Oh wow.
about public
Okay.
transportation.
Okay.
So, and I'm fortunate. I don't have to take it a lot, but I have to take it every once in a while, because we're still a one car family. So this piece, one of the lines, the train lines, is called the Red Line, and they're all based on colors. So this is called Red Line Ruins. Got on the Red Line at Park Street, tired, hungry, stressed, long, nasty scrum on my way to the daily grind. Nothing went right. Late for the presentation and wrong damn slides on the PowerPoint. Fighting back tears because this was supposed to be my ticket to the next level. Best thing I can say about it, DONE, done. Approaching downtown crossing and the train is screeching on the rails. I want to screech right along with it. No, seriously, I'm in a downward spiral. Down to South Station, down to Broadway, down to Andrew. I look up at JFK. I always do, no matter what. Maybe because I'm out of the tunnel, out of the dock, and into the sun or the lights of the city beyond Congress and state and federal and downtown crossing. We in Dorchester, yo. We back in the hood. Ain't got a front, ain't got to switch up. 6 sets of identical doors. And she had to walk through mine, shine through mine, be fine through mine, like new wine through mine. So smitten like a baby kitten, I knew I'd been bitten. Eyes met like it was kismet, like winning a prop bet, like paid off school debt, like a good cheap sublet. Ooh, this place is really nice. That cake, I'd like to have a slice. Sat down right next to me, just as love texted me, just as her eyes inspected me, just as fate expected me to say something. Dude, say something. Your stop is coming up. Shouldn't have been so hard to hand the girl my business card. The doors opened so very fast, I couldn't make the magic last. She'll never call, the die is cast. Another bad ride on these sucky Boston trains. A brother's busted pride on these sucky Boston trains. A chance at bliss got swept aside on these sucky Boston trains. Romance just suffered homicide on the sucky Boston train. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love it. So, yo, while you're talking, I'm like, I want to hear this. Like, have you ever thought about doing your book of poems as an audiobook?
Yeah, and it's definitely on the burner, front burner, back burner. I don't know which burner it's on, but it's definitely on the burner because um I think one of the things that doing the jazz piece, doing the music piece has said to me, well, they hold up really, really well with the music.
Mm-hmm.
But when I record them for my friend Jonathan, so he can listen to them as he scores and puts music to them, they hold up real well as just voice too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You
I'm
have that
I'm I'm
voice.
going to do it, and
Okay.
it's going to be a crazy trying to select which pieces I would do, and then find a vendor and all of that stuff. But yeah, I plan on doing it at some point in time because that's one of the things a lot of people say to me. They say, well, you know what, I'm not really a reader, but I love to come out and hear you and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
if you did something that was just audio, I would buy it. I would buy that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
think
I
I
think the
think that
market is,
would
I
be
think there's a
awesome.
little bit of a market there. So yeah, I will definitely do that at some point,
Yeah.
soon.
I've
Um,
been listening to Kwame Alexander. I absolutely love his books
okay.
because he does whole novels in verse, right? So the whole novel is written, it's like poetry. And
Wow.
so I listen to them because
Uh-huh.
it's such a great story. Like he tells
Yeah.
these amazing stories using poems and they just kind of flow. And I love
Yeah.
it. I love listening to him deliver the poems. I love listening to the story. I even got my sons into it. We're listening to Swing right now,
Hmm.
and um, and I think that it's called a Woohoo Woman podcast.
Wow.
Is one of the podcasts that these two young boys are listening to, trying to understand how to be cool and get girls. And
Wow.
uh, and
How
my
to be cool with
son
the
the other
girl.
day,
Yeah.
I said,
Is
son,
there
I said,
anything else?
woohoo. He said, woohoo, you're a woohoo woman. And I was like, oh man, this book
That is
is like,
so
yeah.
funny.
So it's really, really good stuff. So if you ever get a chance to read some Kwame Alexander or listen to, I think you would do just as well as he has.
Well, thank you.
You
Thank
know,
you. That's a nice compliment. Yeah, it definitely, it's on the short list of moves I want to make. So I'm thinking about it for sure.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, so I have, like I said, I've been working on this one woman show. So I'm gonna read one of the pieces
Yeah.
that will be a part of it. Let's see. That's where my head is these days. All right. So the title of the one woman show is called "When a Teacher Gets Free," and
Oh, okay.
it's making a parallel between the educational system and the Matrix because I'm a sci-fi kind of geek,
Oh, cool.
and
Okay.
the movie The Matrix was always super, like, I love the way they did that. And so yeah, so it's talking about the educational system as the Matrix and what happens if like a teacher is set free and how she can go back and then release all of her students so that they can have an open mind as opposed to be robotic, and they can,
Fantastic. Bring
yeah.
it.
All right, so what are you afraid of? Heights, spiders, snakes, water, or something else like me? I used to have a fear of slugs. I know now that my fear of slugs came from something deeper. I was jealous of their ability to go through life bare, no covering needed. Slugs are unapologetically
Mm,
slugs.
mm.
Every time I saw a slug, I would do everything possible to eliminate it, pour salt on it, and
Ooh.
prove that it doesn't belong. How dare that slug try to infiltrate my world, take up my space, and be what God made it to be, not in my garden, not in my yard. not in my driveway, and definitely not in my home. Lately, I have been feeling like a slug, without covering and misunderstood, crawling around in somebody else's backyard, knowing my purpose but unable to convey the need for my gifts, the reason for my existence in this space at this moment. Existing in my essence and beauty, I am bare and open. Look upon my beautiful exterior, the creation God made me to be, feared by those that are in charge of the gardens that I seek to aerate. This confidence is offending. It must be hard for them to know that I am the daughter of queens and kings. Warriors and generals are in my heritage, and my purpose is to dig into the soil and provide inspiration for growth. I have often wondered why they fear me, why my voice scares and causes them to tremble, why my very presence begins to make them question their authority. They have tried to tame me, poured salt on me while I tried to bask in the rain, tried to put out the fire within and make me feel less than capable, less than powerful, less than a change agent. I have questioned the truth of their actions for years, tried to make myself smaller than I am to appease their fears, only to realize that I am not here to soothe their troubled feelings. I am meant for more than this backyard. There are mountains in my future, and your driveway is in my rear view. I am a breaker of shackles and deliverer of minds. My purpose is more powerful than you could ever imagine, so they fear me with no reason. Question why I am here without looking into my power, tapping into my power, accepting my power. My fear of the slug did not take away its purpose. Truth? It only made me look silly, put on display my weakness and my inability to accept my own strength, revealed the truth of my jealousy, exposed me, and your fear of me will only prove to do the same. Expose you as a person willing to do whatever it takes to block out the light that radiates from my essence, but you have been deceived, for darkness will never overtake the light. It will only push it forward into destiny so that others can see the beauty in my purpose.
I love it. I love it. See, and that's, well, you already know this. I mean, that's the kind of poetry that lends itself to sitting in front or standing in front or in front of an audience and saying, listen, this is the story. Y'all need to hear this. So
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully that's going to be a piece of your show, because
Yeah,
that's,
it is. It's
yeah,
definitely a
that's
piece in the
bomb.
show.
Absolutely.
It's the show is it's coming together now. The pieces are all coming together. It's kind of like a transformation from when I first decided to enter into education,
Yeah.
and up until last year, well, not last year, but last school year, May,
Mhm.
is when I stepped away.
I
And
love the linkage, of all that you are and all that you see in front of you to to a slug who people would look at askance at the very least, but
mhm,
some people like horrified, the
yeah,
whole
I
pouring
used
the
to
salt
be.
on. I love that, that
I used to
juxtaposition,
be
that
in.
paradox is crazy because I mean, if people who know you know that you are a study in perpetual motion, like you're moving and grooving, shaking and baking, you're all about it. So to take all that you do and all that you are and put it in a place um of stillness,
Mm,
you know, and just say, regard this stillness and regard the power of it that you would never see if you can't think deeper, if you
yeah,
can't go deeper, if you can't go beyond the way that this thing looks with them two little things
right.
sticking
And
up in the
see, the
slime
truth
trail that
needs
it's
slugs,
leaving.
right?
If you
You
can't
need
get
them,
past that, then you'll never get me.
right?
So yeah, right. It's bad. That's bad. Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
thank you.
bad.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love that piece. Was that about when you first met your wife?
No, no, no. It's funny because I list my wife in all of my books as an editorial consultant or an editor outright because she looks at everything as as we're, getting toward the final
Mhm.
stages. And there's some pieces that, that I write, and this because we do the same thing, huh?
Yeah.
I write from you got to take yourself outside of yourself and write from a
Right.
totally different
Mhm.
perspective. So I'm writing as a much younger me before I'm married with kids and all of that. I'm just
Gotcha.
I'm a brother trying to make moves, and
Yeah.
I'm coming from this gig that I'm trying to get big in, and I've had one of those days, and then all of a sudden it looks like my luck is about to change,
But the
but the trains,
transportation.
and all of that. And the funny thing about it is, it's not the trains in this instance, but the trains become the object of my vitriol because I messed up,
Yeah, you punked
as
out.
a young dude,
Yeah.
trying to be trying
Yeah.
to bounce a little bit to the beat of the sister, and I just missed it, because
Yeah, I want to hear more. Like, I feel like there's a whole story behind like
yeah,
this man, like that we just only got one glimpse of him in
yeah.
this in that piece that you shared, and
Yeah, yeah.
if
No,
you
and
wanted to, you could like
he's
tell a whole
he probably
story.
is a good dude,
Yeah, yeah.
he's not a straight hustler or anything like that, So he he had some nervousness, he had some jitters. The sister was fine, and he just couldn't get himself together quick enough to step to her,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Right. And
I
I remember those days.
Hey, that's we talk about this on the podcast almost all the time. Something comes up about um, how a gentleman got his start writing poetry
Uh-huh.
because he didn't have any game, so he wrote
Yeah.
poems to try and get a girl's attention. And
Yeah.
so I love that. I love
Yeah.
it. Even in, the book I was just telling you about, that's the premise, is he's writing all these beautiful poems
Yeah.
for this girl because he just can't get up enough nerve to tell her
Yes,
she likes
yes, yes. Now
it.
I have
Yes.
written poems, for my wife that, kind of have that in them,
Mm-hmm.
where, boy, if I could just sit down next to you and tell you how I really feel,
Oh
if
wow.
these words would come to me when I'm pitching woo, I'd be something, I'd be bad,
Yeah.
I'd be macadocious. I would be bad, but these words only come to me when you're in the other room, in another
Wow.
city, in another state,
Isn't that
because I
crazy?
can't be I can't be close to you sometimes and let the all that I'm full
Ooh.
with in my heart
Mm-hmm.
come to the surface, because I would explode, I mean,
Wow.
I have so much feeling and love for you.
Mm.
I have to let the words be the conduit, but you can't be sitting there
Wow.
because they'd
You
never
have to
come
make
out.
sure she watches this so that she can hear that. Yeah, man. Oh man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I think that that's crazy because I speak through the poem,
Yes.
and I think it was at the end of one of my books. It's called Writing You Into Forever, and I say
Uh,
that that's all I know to do to express my love for
yes.
all of these people in my life is
Yes.
to just write them into forever because I will never be able to find when they're there, I don't
Yes.
have the
Yes.
words
Yes.
to
Yes.
tell you how much you mean and how
Right.
much I love you,
Yeah.
and how you are, a change agent in my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I write you into poetry,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's how
And Ray, I mean,
the
and
world will
again,
forever know.
this is kindred spirit time. Sometimes you're just trying to live in the moment,
Mhm.
and living in the moment doesn't dictate that you become a poet.
Right.
Sometimes you're an observer, you're you're a prayer partner, you're all
Mm.
these other things that don't necessarily, well, they could in some instances, but more often than not, they don't really lend themselves to you, you know going off on a spoken word tangent. They just,
Right.
that's that's not what's happening, man. Sometimes, it's you and her, and you're talking to your daughter or whatever, you're ministering to some people at church, because you've been married 37 years, they've been married for 3 minutes and they're already having problems, and you're trying to impart some wisdom, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not poetry wisdom.
Right.
And there's poetry wisdom. You and me, we got poetry wisdom.
We got poetry
You
wisdom.
know,
I don't have
people will hear what
37
we
years
have to
worth of
say and
poetry
say,
wisdom.
yeah, I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it absolutely is like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's poetry wisdom. But then there's also life in the moment wisdom,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes it's not poetic.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite of poetic. It's tear down.
Yes. Yes.
You got to tear it down before you can build it up.
Yeah. I know one of my youth poets, he texted me today. He's waiting for his first son to be born next month.
Oh, love. Okay.
And so the book that he is finishing is a letter of love. And
Oh,
it's a
that's nice.
letter to everyone that he has loved
Yeah.
growing up, even himself. And so he's written all of these letters. And he asked me, he said, do you think the letter will be different now or in October? And I told him, I said, the letter's definitely different after Salem gets here.
Yeah. Oh,
After you
yeah.
hold your son, it's a totally different
Oh,
letter.
yeah. Yeah. It's a
I said
game.
there's
It's a
a
game
letter of
changer, no doubt.
I said there's a letter of anticipation and there's a letter of reality. Like
Yeah.
I'm holding you. Like
Yeah.
this is what I think it's gonna feel like to hold you to
Mhm.
what it is when I hold you. And I
Yeah.
said those are two different letters, and you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
ask yourself which letter do you want people to read?
Yeah.
And that's it, that's not just poetic, that's just parenting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
helping him see the power in the parenting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now the poems I wrote for my boys before they got here and the poems since they've been here are totally different.
Yeah.
There's reality.
You might have been a lot nicer to them when they was on their way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, they're my boys.
No,
They
I'm
they're
sure
the
they're
apple
beautiful
of my
little men.
eye. But yes, I have written I wrote
Yeah.
some very, woohoo, woohoo woman poetry
Yeah.
before they got here, and then once they were here, it was like, wait a minute, y'all are some attention whores. I remember saying that in
Mhm.
one of my poems. Like, there's some
Oh,
attention
Lord.
whores. They just want my
Yeah.
attention all the time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, my
So
goodness. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
so. I think you're exactly right. Sometimes it comes across as poetry and sometimes it just comes across because sometimes that's all we have is um the energy and the expression of the words to say what somebody else needs to hear. And it's not always like
Yeah.
a spoken word piece. Sometimes it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what you need
Absolutely.
to hear right now.
So, let me shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
I you know, I lived in Medford for most of my life. I live actually in another place, a city south of Boston now, where my wife and I could actually afford to buy a house. That's a longer story. But the story of Medford, the neighborhood that I grew up in, is a very interesting one because West Medford is the historical African American community within Medford.
Okay.
And there was a time when, because of redlining and racism, there
Mhm.
were really only three streets that blacks could live on. When they first came to Medford, they basically said, listen, y'all Negroes, you can live on Jerome, you can live on Arlington, you can live on Lincoln Street. Everything else in Medford basically is off limits. So they couldn't buy houses, but they created this beautiful community
Mhm.
and it became a model African American community, not just for Massachusetts, but the nation. It was written about in Ebony and a couple of other
Okay.
publications. It was a great, great place. And we had heroes and we had role models, we had all of that.
Wow.
So it is, like many cities, big and small, undergoing significant gentrification. Last
Right.
20 years, basically, if you leave, you can't go back. If you're
Wow.
black and you leave because the developers, will take that piece of property and turn it into a couple of condo units quick, fast, and in a
Mhm.
hurry and sell it to, white folks who trying to move out of them towers in downtown Boston and get them a
Right.
little piece of land.
Mhm.
So I write about the gentrification a lot. I mean, it's one of my
Okay.
pet peeves. It's one of my, topics of interest. So I'm going to read this piece called Mystic River Melancholy. Medford is one of those cities that is in the path of this, pretty significant river in Massachusetts called the Mystic River.
Okay.
So the freshly coiffed boho boys make real estate videos, extolling the finer virtues of West Medford and life along the Mystic River. Maybe they're new money kids or Tufts grads that don't know the rich history of the village. They do have a sense that this is a minor mecca for ex-city dwellers, flush with IPO cash, NFT windfalls, or Bitcoin early adoption, a new gentry that wants to be landed for their dogs and their Range Rover and their wine tastings and the next generation of trust fund babies. The would-be property princes have a target market. The YouTube appeal is slick and shiny, classic Americana with a side of sushi or a venti mocha latte. They have no idea of what used to be. They know what the next wave wants to see. They want to see the bikes, the hikes, and their kids on trikes. They want to post pics that gets lots of likes. They want to see the flowering trees and the birds and the bees. Their high-rise havens had none of these. They want to see if they can grow something green in the backyard garden beyond the green that's growing in their bulging bank account. Newsflash, designer overalls and Doc Martens do not a farmer make. No worries, Whole Foods has gone 100% organic with a great selection of finely curated herbs and spices. I know that this sounds like resentment. Resignation frequently does. But when the private boat clubs bookend the public beach and the abutters don't want loud, unruly Dominicans descending on their hillsides for beachfront parking, well, what's a brother from the Ville to think? My daddy taught me how to fish here. Not much more than eels and sunfish in the water then, but it felt like legacy, and we were happy to have it. They really didn't want us back at the beach back then either, but we were mighty in our minority. We didn't want to fight, folks, but the lake wasn't exactly pristine, so why begrudge it to anybody? We could walk that half mile or ride our Stingray bikes down there and feel connected to the small waves and the gentle wake. We could wonder about the kayakers and the canoe paddlers, the colorful sunfishers and occasional scullers, and the ubiquitous motorboaters. We could dream a little dream about owning a dinghy and a trawling engine and making a few waves of our own. Don't get me wrong. I love the new fish ladders and the intrepid herring counters, the trout infusion, the bald eagle sightings, and the focus on environmental sustainability. Thing is, they love it too, and they can afford to pay for it. 1.4 mil for Queen Dorothy Elizabeth Tucker's old homestead. It should have been a historical landmark. Instead, it's yet another preview of coming attractions. Meanwhile, the sleepy little Nubian hamlet has released its black and brown patina to the inexorable tug of real property values and the dying off of the old guard. Mine is the last generation that knew about the three streets, Arlington, Lincoln, and Jerome, that knew about the little store, and Old Shiloh Baptist, and the library in the fire station. Mine is the last generation that knew about Charlie Booker and the Bruins, the five fighting Phillips brothers, Uncle Buddy's Postal Command, Doc Counts' Blue Books, Faustina and Evelyn's Salon, and exactly why it's called Duggar Park. So many firsts, so much history, so little time to savor and to save, to preserve and pass on. So many departures and so few arrivals of the black and the brown and the tan. Meanwhile, the developers mostly have their way. The Spanish day laborers tear it down and build it back up. Like Lee Majors in the $6 Million Man, they have the technology. They can make them better than they were. Better, stronger, faster. Condos and townhouses, Tony and trendy, out with the old, in with the new. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Meanwhile, the freshly coiffed boho boys make real estate videos, extolling the finer virtues of West Medford and life along the Mystic River.
Wow, wow. Yeah. You, oh my gosh, you're such a storyteller, man. Like you're telling this amazing history and story. And I love that you said like my generation is the last generation that knows.
Yeah,
Knows of these three streets,
yeah,
knows this
yeah. And it's
history.
real serious right now.
And the
It's
only
real
way you're
serious
gonna
because every time one of the old houses get sold, that's the end of it. And all
mm,
the story that exists in that household,
it's gone.
if it yeah, because most of the time what happens is the younger people that have held on to their parents' homes or their grandparents' homes, and
Hmm.
they're ready to go, they're ready to
Right.
head down south, or they're ready to head out of the city or whatever, so that the money that they get can buy more.
Right.
They're ready, and they
Yeah.
don't want to stay.
They
And when
might.
they don't want to
Yeah.
stay, they take all that history with them, if they ever knew about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of legacy being lost. And
Lost.
I work at the community center that's been in existence for almost 80 years. And that's where a lot of the history resides. And I pride myself on knowing as much of it as anybody that's out there.
Yeah.
But it's sad sometimes. My sister and some of my extended family, they still live in the house that my dad bought, the first house that we owned. And you know, there's issues with the house, so she's thinking about, is it time? Is it time to
Yeah.
cut it loose? Because it will, to take care of all the stuff that's wrong, it will cost a lot of money.
And they
And
know
I'm
that.
not looking for no loot.
Hmm.
I hope, my I got another older brother and another older sister. I hope they're not looking for any loot, because if she needs to be able to sell it so that she can continue to survive, that's
Right.
cool with me. You don't have to give me a dime. I know that you were there to take care of my mother, take care of my father, take care of my
Mhm.
baby brother when they had cancer and eventually died. So you
Wow.
don't owe me a thing,
Right.
you know. And these are all stories that I've had to tell poetically. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, in
Yeah.
my own, because I'm a survivor myself. So I mean, stories are out. I got a piece called "I Came for the Stories," and that's the deal. And
Mm. I love
legit, that's what I came for. That's what I'm here for. I came for the stories, either to hear them or to tell them. Nothing else.
yes, and I love, love, love your stories. I do. And I just can't wait, if I can do anything to help you get that audio book out there, because I think these stories need to be heard.
Well,
Even if you do
I
them on
tell
a
you, there's
podcast, it would be
definitely
great.
at least one thing I really want to have a serious conversation with you about, because my first book, I did with a conventional publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So, I submitted the manuscript. They said, cool, we'll publish it. Here's the contract and all that. So I didn't have to pay anything at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to, and the publisher was a straight shyster. You know, they
Wow.
they had lawsuits against them all over the nation because they were big. They were pretty big, and they're still in business, but they've had to change their name 3 times,
Oh goodness.
and they've had to change their operating
The American way.
procedures significantly.
Just change
So
your
I
name.
tell all folks that they come to me and I hear the name, I say, no, you don't want that. You don't want no
Right.
pieces of that. But so all 5 of my books after that, I've gone with this Christian-based publisher called Zulon, and I like them,
Uh-huh.
but they're getting more and more expensive. And
Okay.
the fortunate thing for me is I was able to do one Kickstarter, and 4 GoFundMe's to pay for my books.
Okay.
I was able to raise enough money to publish all of my books. But I won't do that again, because I think, at this point in time, you know, it's got to be my own dime. It's I got to do it
Mhm.
on my own dime.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I love my community. I love my supporters. I love what I've been able to do with them, and they're my quote of first resort when it comes to selling books and all of that stuff. But if I want to expand and be different in what I do, then I have to get more global, and my thinking has to become more global. But that's another story. The main thing I was trying to say is the first book, I actually had to buy the rights back from the publisher because the way that the contract was written up, they owned rights. Yeah, yeah. Believe me, if I knew then, and this is 2010, if
Okay.
I knew then what I knew now, it would never have happened.
Right,
I
right.
ended up having to buy my rights back from them. So they're no longer the publisher of record, and the book's been out of print for a little while, and the only copies that are available is my stash. So
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna do that book again. I'm
Like a
change the
second
cover,
edition.
change all of the
Mhm.
internal publishing language, and so maybe that's something that you and I could talk about because
Okay.
maybe it'd be a nice thing for your imprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, we, we are small
Yeah,
and we just started.
yeah,
But my thing was, it was so hard for me to find a publisher, because I was known as a spoken word artist.
yeah, yeah,
And it was like I have to write the poems, everybody, just because I deliver. Like it was so hard, and I didn't want, I didn't want other spoken word artists to have to go through that. So
yeah,
that's why the Fifth Woman books, started.
yeah,
And but I've been very, very happy with
yeah,
the product of the first two books that we've been able to publish and put out there. Like they're good quality,
yes,
um,
yeah,
and easy contracts.
mm,
We do the contracts. I don't own any of your rights. I never want that.
yeah, yeah.
I just want to help,
Mhm. Well,
and,
yeah.
and that's
I
really
don't know,
what I want. Small
based on
press stuff.
everything else that's going on, I don't know how soon I'll do it, but I definitely want to do that book over again because I feel like my catalog's not going to be complete until I have all of my books available and
Yes,
under my own, kind of artistic control, creative, juice. So yeah, so that's going to happen, and so yeah, so that's a conversation that we'll have. We'll
absolutely.
definitely have that.
I'd love it.
Okay.
Well, speaking of published poems, so in my last book was a poem called Medicine, and it was about my sons and the lesson that I teach them through laughter. Well, this year, in the last, I guess it's been about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, the police were called to my home because my boys were laughing and wrestling with their dad. And so the poem changed a little bit. And so
Hmm.
that's the piece that I'm going to read. My second piece.
Wow.
A merry heart is good like a medicine. So, as much as I love to laugh, I should be able to fight off the autoimmune disease, headaches, muscle cramps, and joint pain, heartache, and feeling inadequate. I can do none of those things, but I have learned to enjoy my laugh. I have learned that it makes my tolerance for the pain more bearable. So when given the opportunity, I laugh out loud, allow my voice to fill the room, maybe create an infectious ripple that makes others join the chorus because I feel it so deep in my soul. It is my way to release the stress and heal my mind. This laugh takes control and becomes everything to my world in the moment. I'm not exactly sure when I realize that my laugh is boisterous, or when I
Hmm.
question how it makes others feel that I am so free to laugh so loud and never hold back bubbling sounds from my soul to teach the freedom of self acceptance, the acknowledgement of my difference and reality of its beauty.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes I just laugh to keep from crying. Other times, I laugh until I cry because the tears need to be released. And what better way for them to burst forth than from a smile that became active like a volcano and erupted from my gut to give way for cleansing grace? No matter what, my laugh will never be as astonishing as the sound of laughter catapulting from the lungs of my sons when they laugh. My entire world is made perfect. New creation each time they find the freedom to let joy overflow. But I didn't know that their black boy joy would strike fear into the hearts of my neighbors.
Mm.
They called the authorities to quiet their smiles and attempt to structure their expression. But we had planted the seed, made it okay to laugh as loud as their hearts could tolerate, made it a rule to not quiet their spirits, taught them to never dull their light. So they politely explained that they will not quiet their joyful shrieks, but instead let them drive fear into the souls of those that seek to put them under a bushel. See, I have taught them something by laughing out loud, a speechless lesson. I know that they will never forget as life becomes full of reasons to snatch your smile and your confidence. I hope they remember their mother laughing. I hope they find comfort in laying their head back, hand on their stomach, hearing a bellow from their soul and healing themselves
Mm.
with the medicine that I teach them to make each time we laugh.
Mm. The medicine that I teach them to make each time we laugh.
Mm.
How beautiful. How absolutely beautiful. And that is in essence a mother ministering to her son. I
I think
love
so.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It that's I'm see now I want to be in that audience when you do that show because man, that is gonna be wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super
Yeah. No, I
excited.
love your poetic voice. I really
Thank you so
genuinely
much.
do. And I know, we're in this collective now, so we feel obligated to say nice things to each other in a certain sense.
Yeah,
But this is, and I'm kind of almost kind of glad that we didn't have any more of our fellows, kind of glom on because I feel like we're having this kind of intimate conversation, and I'm, kind of getting to know you a little bit, and I mean, I really, really love your voice, and I've heard several of our poets now,
yeah.
on these, various shows. And there's definitely a few that are like, I'm
Mm,
like,
mm,
I'm
mm.
like, I'm trying to take them home and put them in a little cache. So
A
whenever
little
I need
jar.
some inspiration, I can go dip in that box of his stuff or
Oh
her
yeah.
stuff,
Yes, yes.
um, in poetry, imitation is definitely the sincerest form of flattery, and
Yeah.
we're not trying to bite straight up. But if you hear something that is fly, it can creep into what you do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Just because it goes to that place in the back of your mind where you draw on when nothing else is coming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Well,
But yeah, no,
I
you're
know,
you're
I love the way that you write stories and your voice, like I said, it's just like melody. It is jazz. And so I love it.
thank you,
I
thank you.
try to be a better storyteller. That's part of, something that I work on. And
Yeah,
I
it's
see
clear.
you do it so well. You
Clear.
weave these stories and you just kind of pull me in little by little. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's fun. This thing is it's fun when we get to say it the way we want to say it, and you need to listen. We tell people you need to listen to this because you haven't heard anything like this before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not braggadocio. That's just the way it is. I mean, you probably have heard a similar story, but you ain't heard it told like this.
Right. You haven't heard it from me. Yeah.
It is definitely what we do, what we do. So where do you think we're at in terms of time? Do you wanna?
Yeah. Would you do one more for us?
I'd love to. I'd love to. I'm just trying to, now I'm getting to that place where I'm saying, what should okay, all right, cool. I'll do this one. All right, so this piece is called Black Seeds. Okay. Part of the problem is that many of you can only take the black thing in very small doses.
Ooh.
You don't want no protesting, no addressing, and no investing. You need that Aunt Jemima black, that Uncle Ben's black, that Stephen Fetchit black, that Clarence Thomas black, that Booker T black, that in denial black versus the unapologetically black. You kind of thrown by that Nina Simone black, by that James Baldwin black, by that Muhammad Ali black, by that Du Bois and Robeson black, that Toni Morrison black, that Angela Davis black, that Huey P. Newton black, that Malcolm X black, that Public Enemy black, that John Carlos, Tommy Smith, and Colin Kaepernick black, that straight ghetto black, that self-loving black, by that slaves fought back black, by that y'all can kiss my butt black. We're not living in the politically correct right now. We're not driving on the safe side of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This ain't about humility and assimilation. This ain't about wholesale incarceration. This ain't about making folks feel comfortable. We not claiming that people of color posturing. We stepping into the danger waters. We talking buy black, for black, be black. Black music, unadulterated. Black literature, unexpurgated. Black art, uneviscerated. Black love, unemasculated. Black thought, uneradicated. Love me some Diane Carroll, but this ain't the Julia season. Love me some Claire Huxtable, but this ain't the Cosby Show season. Love me some Johnny Mathis, but this ain't the wonderful, wonderful season. Love me some Tiger Woods, but this ain't no country club season. Love me some Ray Charles, but this ain't no America the Beautiful season. Love me some Paul Laurence Dunbar, but this ain't no cabin and field season. The worst of your kind has got it in for the best of our kind, for our women, for our children, for our history and our legacy, for our accomplishments, for our neighborhoods and our villages, and our faith in our truth. You grudgingly admire the superstars, the prize winners, the great entertainers, the champions, the high achievers, the big earners, and the brand names until the unforgivable blackness rears its ugly head. Then hate drowns out the love for Oprah, for LeBron, for Spike, for Denzel, for Jim Brown, for Serena and Venus, for Chuck D and Tupac, for Barack and Michelle, for Marvin Gaye and MLK. You want to ban real blackness, real black books, real black heroes, real black role models, real black warriors, real black kings, and real black queens. You trying to bury us without realizing that all you're doing is planting seeds. And like the main ingredient sang back in the day, listen to the story the drums tell. Black seeds keep on growing. Critical race theory explains it well. Black seeds keep on growing. You shrug your shoulders and scream, what the hell? Black seeds keep on growing. Pavlov would tell you, just listen to the bell. Black seeds keep on growing.
Yo, I muted myself because I did not want to interrupt that. I got chills on me. That
Yeah,
is it. I
yeah,
love it. Say you bury us, you try to bury us, but don't realize you ain't doing nothing but planting black
straight
seed.
up. That's it.
And black seeds just keep
Keep on
growing. Oh
growing.
my goodness. I love
Yeah,
it. I love that. I love it. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. I might have
Thank
my
you.
sons memorize that poem.
Thank
That's
you.
good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's like, I think I have probably several anchors in this new book, maybe one in it, every chapter, and there's like 10 chapters. That's an anchor piece for me
Yeah.
because that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on right now in terms of some stories that I really, really have to tell.
Yes.
Y'all need to understand, you're trying to eliminate us big time.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
ain't having it.
I love that. I love it.
We ain't
I
having it.
my husband is an amazing storyteller as well.
Yeah.
He does it through the form of audio documentaries.
Oh, snap. Okay.
And that's he's gonna love that poem. That's because that's really like that's his thing is
Yeah.
like they have tried to take us out because we were at a music festival and this guy just called him an N word just like out
Hmm.
the blue because he was trying to protect me like the guy was kind of being wild, and my husband
Yeah.
was like, yo, kind of stay out of my wife's face. And he was like, man, don't touch me, in. And my husband was like, and my husband, he's a martial artist and everything. So everybody's like, okay, get him, because if he hits this guy, it's going bad.
It can be
And so
over.
we asked, yeah, and but since then he's taken a totally. He said, go ahead and call me that. He was like, because that's what they called my ancestors, and they didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing but make me stronger. So he's like, I'll be one. Like I'll be that. Go ahead. He's like, I'm in good company. So uh yeah. So that's it. That Black Seeds, he's gonna love that poem. He is
Oh,
definitely.
good, good,
Yeah.
good. We trying to penetrate, we ain't trying to stay where we are. We're trying to get deeper. So, if it carries through to the spouses and the children and the children's children, then we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, and we've been
Yeah.
gardening a lot lately too. So that kind of
Oh
hit home
yeah,
just
yeah. My
because.
wife is a gardener, so it's funny because a lot of my motifs, poetic motifs sometimes come straight out of what she's doing when she puts them overalls on. Cause
Yeah.
she's about her business. When she puts them overalls on versus
It's
anything else,
serious.
she's
It's
about her
serious.
business. She put them
Yes.
overalls in them. I bought her some really nice rubber gardening boots.
Yeah.
When she puts her gear on, man, it's over. It's a wrap, straight
She
up.
her
She will
happy
be
place,
out there
I'm
all
sure.
day as long as she can stay until it gets dark. She's in the
Hmm.
garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I'm trying to grow all my own food, so that's what I'm
Oh,
gonna do.
lovely, lovely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, doing building like towers.
Uh-huh.
It'll perpetually always give us food, like
Yeah,
greens and the onions and tomatoes
yeah.
and peppers and all that
Absolutely.
stuff. So
Yeah. That's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for hanging with me.
Hey, listen,
I'm glad we got this
anytime,
time.
if I'm free, I'm down, so
Yes,
anytime, especially if it gets to a flaky place, and everybody else is running around doing all the things that we doing these days, and I'm available. I'm definitely, I love the conversation, and like I said today, I feel privileged because it's just you and me vibing. So
yeah, this has
I
been
dug
good.
it. I
This has
dug it.
been so good. Thank you
Yeah.
again. And thank you everybody who will watch this or has been
Yeah.
watching while we're on.
Yeah.
We are grateful. And
Absolutely.
we'll be back next first Sunday is October the 1st. So very first day of the month, you get to kick it with some Black Poet Laureates.
Hey,
So
you BPLs, don't be flaky now. Come on, get with the program. My
sign
sister
up,
Ray's
sign
out here
up.
spreading the sunshine, man. She, don't be raining on her parade, right? We all need to be available. The greatest ability is availability.
I love it.
Okay? All right,
I
you
love
heard it
that
here
saying.
first.
I might put that on a t-shirt. Greatest ability is
Yeah.
availability. All right.
All right, Black Poets Rising. Peace.